Hi everybody, Michael here. Today's video, I want to just discuss Steve Law's interview with Andrew Gold and explain the problems with ethno-nationalism, or most ethno-nationalists. Let's go. Okay, so I've covered this topic a few times, but I want to expand and warn people about the dangers, not really of ethno-nationalism, but of National Socialism. And Steve Laws is not a ethno-nationalist, really. He's a National Socialist. And I don't have any real problem with ethno-nationalists. I mean, I would sort of consider myself an ethno-nationalist. But what I have a problem with is people straying into Nazi ideology and their ideologues rather than ethno-nationalists. And it's very important that people can differentiate or spot the difference, because there's a spirit behind each one. Being an ethno-nationalist who looks out for his people, there's nothing wrong with that at all. But being a weird National Socialist with their kind of ideology, there's a spirit of evil behind it. And it's not just about looking after your people. It's got weird ideology where you have to hate the Jews. And ultimately, because they claim it's about their own people and their tribe, but it's not. It's about their ideology and what they want. And what actually ends up happening is they end up persecuting not just the Jews, but they will end up persecuting many of their own people, of whom they claim they're doing their work for. But they're not doing their work for white English people. They're doing it for their own sick ideology. And you need to listen to me carefully, because I think I can give a much deeper opinion. And these people are dangerous because they're very snaky, and they'll make, if I did this video criticizing them, they'll say, oh, you don't care about the English people. And they're always trying to be puritanical. And they remind me of the radical Muslims. You know, it's different ethnicity, same evil spirit behind it, because the radical Muslims will also go onto these shows and they'll be sneaky snakes about things. Like the radical Muslims will go on there, go, yeah, no, we're really interested in peace. We're not trying to take over. And, you know, nobody should harm innocent people. They'll say all this, but really their ideology is different, and that they twist it. Because, for example, one example is ideology, or innocent people, sorry, in their ideology, anybody who's not a Muslim, they're at war with. So basically, if you're non-Muslim and you're attacked, then you're not an innocent victim. So you need to understand the ideology and where they're coming from. If you're not aware of their ideology, you'll fall for their little tricks. Just like Peter McCormack had Dilly Hussein on his podcast, and he was useless because he didn't push back against all his crap that Dilly Hussein was speaking. Because Dilly Hussein could run his whole, yeah, no, we're not here to take over. We're just here for peace, and he's little sneaky playing Takia. Whereas if Peter McCormack knew and understood Islam, he would be able to push back like the likes of Tommy Robinson does. He doesn't fall for their little tricks. And also, this is what Steve Laws and the National Socialists do. He'll come on and go, no, I don't hate Jews. I don't hate foreigners. I don't want to persecute people. But guarantee you, without a shadow of a doubt, if he or his type were in charge, he would put the Jews in camps, and many, many English people as well. And he even said, I don't care if we have to have authoritarian control, we're going to make this country 100% English again. And remember, I'm not far off. I believe that England should probably be 90% English. I believe all countries should be 90% native population to protect the people. But the problem with Steve Law's idea is he would have to go down authoritarian control, and he'd end up persecuting his people. Because think about it, all the people who are in mixed marriages. So you'll have loads of English people who've married Indians, who've married Jamaicans and had kids with them. So there's loads of mixed race kids. He'd be deporting all of them. And then there's going to be loads of English people who don't agree with it. So Steve Laws would be like, well, the Jews organised it and you're a race traitor, so you'll be in the camps with the Jews as well. So this is how they end up persecuting their own. Because most English people won't agree with the need to deport every single non-white English person. And even if you look at ethno-states, the danger is authoritarian as well. Obviously, we want to turn around the demographic change in our country sensibly. So as I said, we need to move it back to 90, maybe 95% English. But you also have to remember, look at states like North Korea, China. They are complete ethno-states, but they're under authoritarian rule. And I remember seeing a documentary recently on North Korea, and it's totally dystopian. Now, in their eyes, they'd be like, oh, it's an ethno-state, look how wonderful it is. But when you're under the control of an authoritarian wrong'un, like Kim Jong-un, like Adolf Hitler, or like Steve Laws would want to be, the people will suffer. And, oh, I'm doing it for my English people. No, if you were in charge, the English people would suffer under your authoritarian rule. And he claims he's doing it for his people, but the majority of English people don't want to deport all foreigners. So number one, you're not doing it for your people. Number two, you're a complete traitor, because all English people, all of our grandparents fought against the Nazis. And he is a complete traitor because he's now supporting Adolf Hitler and that ideology that we defeated. So he talks about he's doing it for his people. And anybody who speaks out against Steve Laws or his type of people, they say, oh, you're a traitor to England. It's like, you're the traitor, mate. You're supporting Adolf Hitler, of whom my ancestors and all of our ancestors fought against. And you will enslave and persecute many, 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 many of your own so-called people or tribe to get your sick agenda. So he's the wrong one. And don't be fooled by this. Just because you're desperate to reverse immigration, don't fall for the extremists like Steve Laws and his type. And we need to have some nuance on these subjects. Like, I believe we need to turn around the demographic change. It's a disgrace that English people are a minority in most towns. So we need to reverse it and get back to massive majority English. But we also have to understand that, yes, there's room for good migrants, and that there are English people who have married foreign people, and that's their freedom to do so. You can't ban English people because, again, you're going to persecute your own people. If somebody's married to an Indian or whatever, you're going to say, no, you can't do that. That's when you have to put in stupid laws that persecute your own people. And we also have to acknowledge the fact that as an Anglo people, we have, I'm not into all this, or you're colonizers, but we are an adventurous people, and we've gone around the world spreading the Anglo people. And we've gone to countries and put our kind of ideas or stuck our nose in their business. And we've got involved all over the world. So it's kind of hypocritical for us to now go, we just want our own little nation with all the English people, and we don't want any involvement with foreigners. It's stupid, because we're an adventurous people, and most English people don't have any problem with foreigners. And also you have to acknowledge the fact that we're moving into a globalized world now, and with travel and all that, things are going to be slightly different. We're not going back to 100% ethno-state. It's impossible, just with the fact of all the mixed race. Just within myself, I know family member who's married an Indian woman, they have kids. I know a family friend who's married a Japanese woman and have kids. I know a family friend who's married a Jamaican and have half English, half Jamaican kids. So we're never going back to this ethno-state. And there's one thing that I want to touch on as well, is with these ethno-nationalists. I've said this before, but every single one, bar none, they're obsessed with the Jews. And yes, there are many Jews that we can criticize. I mean, Conor Tomlinson was having a war with Finkelstein, and Conor Tomlinson is completely right. There are some subversive Jews, but there's not this grand conspiracy by Zionists and all this nonsense that people believe. And just to prove it, Steve Laws said that Tommy Robinson is an Israeli agent and that he's being paid to push Israel politics ahead of English politics, which is absolute nonsense. The truth is, Tommy Robinson saw the rise of Islam, which is probably the biggest danger to our country, and he pushed back to it. And he naturally saw an ally with the Jews, because the Jews have the same problem with Islam. Hence why he's a Zionist and he supports Israel. There's nothing really wrong with that. But this idea that, he's a secret Mossad agent, it's just absolute rubbish. They believe in these weird delusions. Because Tommy Robinson recently also went on a trip to the UAE, where he went to discuss with UAE leaders about the dangers of Islamic extremism in Europe, and also problems that they may have in the UAE with certain Pakistanis. Now, is Tommy Robinson an agent of Islam because the UAE invited him out? Obviously not. But they have this weird obsession with the Jews, and everything's a conspiracy with the Jews. And I've done extensive research, and the majority of it is rubbish. Yes, there are subversive Jews, no doubt about it. I'm not denying that. And there are a lot of leftist Jews who even Andrew Gold said he disagrees with and who need booting out the country. But it doesn't change the fact that there are probably a majority of Jews who are sensible. Like all the Jews I follow on YouTube, I just started following loads. All of them don't support the demographic change. They're not for open borders like all the crazy leftist Jews are. And we also have to acknowledge the fact that, yes, a lot of the English people are just as bad. The Catholic Church, the Church of England, they're the ones promoting open borders as well. So it's not just a problem with the Jews, it's a problem with the Christians as well. And many English people, Tony Blair was the one who really stepped up the immigration. You had the Boris wave. None of them are Jews, but they'll always go, well, he had a Jewish advisor. They'll always find a way to put it back to the Jews. And it's like a mental illness that they have. And I haven't found one ethno-nationalist who doesn't have this weird obsession with the Zionists and Jews. And I think we just need to follow sensible people such as Rupert Lowe, Ben Habib, and watch out for the likes of these laws, because you can agree with 90% of what he says, 95%. A lot of what he says, I agree with. And his position of an ethnonat is much more sensible than the civnat position. I think many people who had the civnat position are moving away from it more towards the ethnonat side because they realise it doesn't make any sense. It's basically the same as open borders. But don't let this fact that we're moving away from civic nationalism mean that you have to follow extremists like Steve Laws. And many people say he's doing this to push the Overton window. I don't think he is. I think he's just an evil psychopath. He's no different than a Mohammed Hijab or an Islamic extremist or a far left extremist. And that if you criticise Steve Laws, it doesn't mean that you support the demographic change in our country. Because I've been on X previously and I criticised Steve Laws and had a go at all the hardcore ethno-nationalists, saying that they need to be sensible. And they were like, oh, you're a traitor, you support open borders and all this stuff. So they'll just use the tactics that the left do, and they purity spiral. But we need sensible people and strong people to do what we need to do, such as the likes of Ben Habib and Rupert Lowe. We don't need to follow whack jobs. Okay, so that's pretty much my thoughts on this subject. I just wanted to share some more information because some new things have come to mind. And I just want to warn people about, yes, Steve Laws may be mostly right on a lot of things, but beware of his dangerous authoritarian ideology. We don't want to end up like Nazi Germany or like North Korea. Just because we're desperate and our times are hard, we need to follow more righteous people, not more extremist people. And that's what this channel is all about. The work of the Logos represents the Spirit. It represents Christ, and it's a spirit of righteousness that has been with humanity since the beginning, and it will be with us till the end. And if we follow that truth, then we will make everything right, and we use the wisdom and the love of God and the strength of God rather than the evil extremism that Satan wants to push upon people and push the world into darkness. Okay, so if you like what I'm talking about, subscribe if you're new, like the video if you like it, share it with as many people as you can to make sure that we follow ethno-nationalism or sensible ethno-nationalism, not civic nationalism, and not national socialism or national socialist types like Steve Laws or Nick Fuentes. Okay, God bless everybody today. Goodbye.